contest number 1 fall is for the WWE Championship.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Welcome to Around the Turnbuckle. I'm Big Al. That guy right there is Professor Keith, as always. And joining us fresh off a hot night in Quakertown for 3WA, Miguel Del Barrio. What's up, my man?
What is going on? I'm so glad and excited we're doing this again. I'm so happy that we're doing it.
For those of you who have not, check us out on the first episode of Miguel Del Barrio's appearance here, and you will get his entire career. We started from the beginning, his passion for the business, who trained him, and where he is now and where he's going from here. He's been knee-deep in Frontier, which is his heart and joy, but at the same time, he's also spreading his wings, and he's also had some allegiances up there with some other feds. So, tell us what's been going on with you lately, because it's been a hot 6 months, man.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to me, you guys always know that I've always been someone that believed that we are stronger as a team.
Yes.
And, I was fortunate enough to reconnect this past year with my buddy Nate Cunningham and getting to meet Bambino a little bit more, as well as Miss Shelby Waters and stuff. So, they had an idea. I already had my feet in a little bit wet getting the promotion started. And, I knew that we were going to be as strong as we could make each other, as long as we held each other together. And, we're looking back now, they've been around for about 4 or 5 months, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And working together, we've been able to not only build up what we want to call a territory over here, help the future come up in that way, but as well as watch each other's back, in the sense of, if you have someone looking back, watching your back, you can focus on what's right in front of you. And I think, as well as myself to him and him to me, Nate has given me that comfort of being like, okay, I can focus on wrestling for myself for a little bit more. I can focus on making sure Sage is good and getting my guys out there that work for me hard, in a different venue and a different crowd. And it's just been such a good alliance that I can't complain about it at all. I can't say anything but positive things about it.
His mind for the business is so good, and him as a promoter, and the passion and the love that he has already is something that is innate and can only get better. I worked for them, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. I was out there at the outdoor show, because unfortunately their shows run the same weekend as a conflicting date for me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, how do you choose? I don't ever want to screw anybody. So I always say to them, next year, if somebody can just maybe run a second weekend or a first Saturday of the month, boom, I'm there. I'm there for you all day, because I love those guys. I have loved those guys since they came into 3WA. I'm so proud of them for what they are doing out there on their own. I'm so happy that you're out there helping them. And I think that's what we have to do in independent wrestling, especially in Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is a big state, but Pennsylvania is also a commission state.
Yes,
so you've only got so many doctors. You've only got 4 weeks out of the month to run, and you've only got so many doctors, and you must have a doctor at the shows and whatnot. So, I mean, there's all these hidden tripwires that I think people don't understand unless you're there and you're either trying to promote a show or you're trying to get booked on a show, that if we could just all work together and try to overcome that, we're all going to be stronger and better.
Absolutely. That's very well said. And with Nate. I think me and Nate actually, believe it or not, it's a funny backstory. I don't know if a lot of people know it. I've been around for a lot longer than Nate, but when Nate got started, I was there around the company we were both at the same time. We were both masked guys at the time and didn't even realize it until we were at a show and started talking about it and would realize that we had actually wrestled each other. And but we didn't know it because we were both under masks. And then when we meet with no mask, you know, that's where it all kind of got started. And I agree with you. Like, if we don't look after each other and the future of the business, as well as what we want to do as our personal goals, it could all be done together. You know, I'm not in the business of being a territory in for yourself. Like, you got to control the territory. If we can all work it, then let's work it. There's money to be made.
Yo, so speaking of controlling the future, you and I have had conversation over the past 24 hours about that's near and dear to my heart too. Please talk about the importance of veteran leadership in the locker room when it pertains to new young talent. I know that this generation of young talent, like especially guys in their low 20s, let's say, might be a little shy. It might be a little bit socially, awkward or whatever. And they sometimes sit in the corner and they don't say anything to somebody, or, talk about the importance of picking the brains of the veterans that have been doing this for a while and how important it is to you to be one of those veterans.
And it's such a weird term to put into like a sentence with my name, because sometimes I don't feel like I am that. And it's not that I haven't had like the credentials or the time to be put into it, but I find myself like last night we had Roadblock in the house and guys like Wolf and stuff. Like,
yeah,
I
awesome.
Still find myself at the age that I'm at, doing it as long as that I have. Like, hey man, could I have done better? What could I do better? What did you think? I'm always asking those questions. And I try to instill in my students, as well as tell young talent that I met tonight, if you're not asking questions, you're not trying to get better. And I know that there is a lot of ego involved in this sport too with certain individuals. And I've learned to kind of feel that out right away when I meet somebody. But I always try to be the one person that's available in the locker room wherever I'm at, even if it's like like last night was the first time I met a bunch of young wrestlers last night, and they asked me like, hey, can we do this? I had an individual involved in my match last night that he said, I have a couple moves. Here's what I can do. I usually only get to do one of them. Well, I said, well, kid, guess what? You're doing all of it tonight. And he was so like astonished. And I'm like, are you sure? And then by the time we got to the end of it, he's like, hey man, you don't have to let me hit you to my finisher. I was like, well, you're hitting it 3 times tonight. So, I've always wanted, I've taken such a pleasure of helping. And now that I'm in a position where I can kind of like, people do look for my opinion, I want them to feel inspired, because if you're not inspired by what you're doing, you're never going to put your 100%. If you're only in this business for either the ego boost or the stardom or the money, I get it. This business eventually in the big leagues gives you that. But right now we're not there.
No.
So right now is the time where you need to ask questions. Right now is the time where you need to be professional. On top of all that, there are a couple of young guys that I've met in the last year where I'm like, hey man, like, I get you feel great about yourself. I do too, but I'm not doing what you're doing tonight. And you got to clean that up, because promoters are always watching. You may think we're not, and you may think things don't get to our ears, but it does. And when it does, you only get one chance to make a good impression. And if you lose trust in a promoter or a veteran, it's going to take a while to grow that back. So I always tell my guys and tell the younger guys, always be respectful. Come in, shake people's hands, introduce yourself. Don't be timid. If you're timid, that's fine. I promise you, good veterans will come and look for you and say, hey, man, like, loosen up, buddy. You're going to have a good time. Be safe and do your thing. And that's really what I try to do, is just try to be a platform for anybody to come and help, ask for help if they need it. And it's so important, because we don't have many. I'm not going to say we don't have many veterans that do it. It's just a crazy world now. There's so many egos, and I hate it. But that's why I'm doing what I do.
I hear you. I mean, I've got young guys that are coming up to me now. I'll shout them out because they're my boys. And I love them. The 3 WA tag team champions right now, the Shadow and the Light, Lou, Nick, and Ab. And hopefully you got good marks off of them, because if not, I'm going to go back and talk to them. I'm almost becoming like their unofficial manager, I feel like, because they're always coming to me. What did you see? did it look good? Was it good? What could we do better? This, that, and the other thing. And I'm always trying to, the humble position I'm in of, not taking bumps. I've only been involved in one angle in 3WA and, got little physical and whatnot there. And I mean, well, hey, if that's all I ever do, I'll die happy, having that. But, I'm there, and I always feel like my role as a commentator is I got to get you guys over. I got to get your story over, all of that good stuff. And if somebody wants to come up to me, though, and ask whatever perspective I can give them, I'm going to give it to them. Because that's what we have to do. You're 100% right. We've got to give people whatever they can get. And I mean, those guys are, to me, so good. And really, anybody I talk to that takes that time to talk and cut up and have fun and all that, it's like you discover things about people that you can then go back to them and be like, bring that out. Make sure the fans see that. Make sure the audience sees that side of you.
Yeah. And I've had time to spend some time with those guys, and I do hold a very special place in my heart for that tag team. And then, there's a couple other new guys, and I won't mention by name because I pulled them aside already and kind of talked to them in the back. But it no, I'm not gonna say just last night, but even like a couple of weeks ago, like there's a couple shows that I'll go to, and it's the little things. And I always tell them, like, I get sometimes when you first start, the rate is really low, okay, but that does not mean you don't treat this like another job. If you show up late to your shoot job, if you're cursing on the spot all the time at the shoot job and there's little young clients and wherever you're working, you're going to get fired. If you show up intoxicated or not feeling well when you know that you're a part of a big project that's going to be presented to the GMs, you don't show up not being able to perform at the best of your ability. Because I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, that's going to get you fired, And to me, like, I respect I don't do it. I did back in the day. I don't do it as much now. I'm getting better on my health, so maybe I'll start pulling out some flips and stuff. I enjoy the flips and all these awesome high spots these kids have nowadays, but they have to realize, and I tell them it's only really 1/3 of the battle, because you got to look the part, you got to be able to talk, you got to be able to do the moves, but your critique that you get from anybody starts from the minute that you walk into the locker room. And a lot of people, I don't think, instill that anymore. And I think it needs to be said. And if no one's saying it, then I'm saying it. And whoever's watching, like, if you ever want to talk to me about those little things, we could talk about it all day, because I know I look for it. I look for it from the way someone shakes your hand or is timid to come up or doesn't come up to you at all. I'm like, okay, well, I could give you advice. If you don't want it, that's a total different story. I can't give you what you're not asking for.
Full disclosure to everybody watching, the professor and I are not involved in professional wrestling to get rich or famous. We are involved because
if we were, we have done this so wrong and so stupidly, and absolutely no one should trust us as businessmen.
Listen, full disclosure, we are not. We are in it because we love this business. We have a passion for it. We respect everybody that's ever risked their lives in the ring on any level for our entertainment, and we want to leave it a better place. We started this podcast for fun during the pandemic, and what it's turned into is amazing. And I love the fact that we've made all these friends, and I love the fact that we get to watch these guys grow, or we get to see the light in the eyes of a 20-year-old who has dreams of being on TV. All this stuff, man, it brings us all together. And the fandoms, the fans up in New Era, the fans at Frontier, the fans at SWO, the fans at 3WA, and everywhere else that we go, all have the same thing. They get together each month like a family, and they get together and they want to boo who they want to boo, and they want to cheer who they want to cheer. Professional wrestling brings us together, man. So we're not in it to get rich. Full disclosure, we're in it because we love it, and we have people like Miguel here who loves it more so because he's knee deep in it. He's a promoter, he's a wrestler, he's a mentor, and I mean, so we love having people with this kind of passion that Keith and I have.
Guys. Thank you.
I always talk about it when I try to explain things to people that are not in the business, like my girl, for instance. I always say, like, minor league baseball, right? Minor league baseball is not making a lot of money. I mean, they're making more money than we are because they can, do minor league
That's a fact.
baseball.
There is a league minimum. There's a league minimum.
Yeah, there's a league minimum. We don't have a league minimum,
You're right.
but there and there is a sickness to a degree of what we do because we're willing to go out there and do what we do for gas money. But I guarantee you, the first time that I see somebody that we have really worked with, that I have called their match, that I have helped them in whatever way I can help them, and they're in TNA, AEW, WWE, anywhere they can be where they are able
Malik
to
Bleed.
help.
You remember him?
Yeah, I do.
Malik
But
Bleed is a member of the NXT.
and look, no disrespect to him, but he was here once. I'm talking about the folks that we are watching in SWO or anywhere where we have really been either as fans or as workers now on the commentary or ring announcing side. When they get to a place where they can go to their shoot job and say, hey, I love everything you've given me, but I'm going to go chase the dream now. I can go make my living in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
That's going to be the happiest day of my life because that's what it's about. Out getting those guys there. If we can get there, awesome. But if somebody else gets there, that's just as good, if not better, in my mind.
And that's what I've always told like my close friend, like Nate knows that's like one of my favorite sayings, and Luca Mancini knows that's like one of my quotes. Like I don't need I'm focused right now, and I don't know what happened the last 2 weeks, but I kind of sat down and I said, listen, I'm only 31. It's something minor can still happen, so I'm gonna go for it because I'm gonna hate myself if I didn't try. Yeah. But realistically, if my daughter Sage makes it, if Nate were to make it somewhere, or even the younger kid I worked last night at our show, if he were to make it and he just gets on an interview once, doesn't even have to be on WWE TV, and be like, the biggest moment of the first big moment of my career was when I versed this guy that I had never met named Miguel, and he let me hit 3 of my finishers. That's it for me, because I know that he's pointing that out because no one else allowed him to do that at the time that he started. And to me, it's kind of a crime because I feel like we should all be trying. Like, listen, I what did I do last night? I think I hit like a 619, and that was about it, really. But
that was your big spot, yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't need to hit you with like a dozen things to be happy or content. I was happy the fact that I went out there. I think one of the first times in that area as a heel. Yeah. And I had the crowd hated me, and that was
I love when you hit that, dude. I love when you hit that 619. The crowd cheered because they liked that move.
Yep.
But then you told them to shut the hell up.
Yeah. And then that's it. My job was to make sure they didn't like me and make sure they loved the kid, and they loved him.
So easy for me calling that because play by play, if I make it look easy to anybody, thank God, because then I'm doing it right. But there is.
That's me.
Yeah, there is.
He missed the first half of the show almost. That's me. No, I was begging for him to. I wanted to get on the phone and said, "Where are you? Get your ass here!" Because I try to do my best, but man, like I said, I have a newfound. It's a lot easier for me to sit there, listen to him do what he has to do, and run my mouth about the heels or whatever, than it is to do what he was doing. And then I had Demetrius Arion sitting right next to me, which was intimidating in itself. Because I don't want to say something that he looks at me and said, did you just say what I thought you said? No. So I was trying to watch my words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, he's gotten so good though, Miguel, because when we started doing this almost 2 years ago, if you go back and watch Carnage, 3WA Carnage episode 1, 2, or 3 versus we just did episode 83 or 84 right now recently. The ones that got posted, the ones that we did last night are going to get posted probably in 3 to 4 weeks. But
we'll see what happens.
The one that just got posted recently, 83 and 84, he sounds professional. And and so do I to an extent versus the early shows.
Which is
so we're learning as we go. We still learn as we go.
Which goes back to what you were saying. Take every gig seriously. Take everything as you can get better. You can learn from anything you're doing. When I was at NEPW, and I'm not trying to say it as disrespect to anybody, but from where I was positioned, from the challenges of a show, an outdoor show at a festival that was prearranged, I'm in front of the speakers and all that. I'm like, I'm going to do the best job I can. And if it's not great, it's not great, but I need to do the best job that I can do.
Yeah.
And I need to give them the best that I can give them because it's about, I accepted a booking. The situation was what the situation was, but I accepted the booking. I accepted the responsibility. I need to give them my best, and I need to give them something, a product that they can then either use or say, we're going to executively decide not to. They are going with it. They are going to use it. But
It came out good.
I need to make sure that if they don't use it, it's not because, well, you were just terrible and didn't take it seriously.
Right,
No.
right. No,
Go ahead,
I
Miguel.
mean, I've known you guys for a bit now. It feels like time flies. It feels like it was just yesterday, but it has genuinely been a bit now. I think that you guys too, since the first episode to this one, like it's so funny because as soon as I seen you guys, I was like, oh no way! Like like come here, guys, and we took photos and stuff, and this whole alliance thing that I was talking about at the beginning. It's not just us wrestlers, and I think that's sometimes where people like don't understand it the way we do. And like if I do good in a match and I make it simple for you guys to call it, and behind the scenes we're as close as we are, I don't care if you slip up on something, you say something, because I want Al and you, Professor, to be like, oh man, like I said that about Miguel. He's not gonna mind. It makes it easier because I'm never gonna sit there and if you go, wow, Miguel needs to lose a couple pounds, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I do, but he's not wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not
Yeah,
going to throw that kind of shade because
Yeah, we never go there.
yeah, but
the
I'm
way I
just
look
saying,
at
in
it
general,
is,
like if
if
we
it's
all got to work together, because if we're all just this working machine, everybody benefits. It's everybody else that doesn't understand that are about themselves, that it makes it harder to work. And if
I
you're
agree.
a problem in a locker room, you're gonna know about it because we're all gonna let you know about it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I said some things in the main event, about Shelby Waters, and
By the way,
I made sure to
by the
talk
way,
to her
before you keep going, by the way, I let Shelby Waters know just so that she's not shocked and surprised. And she just laughed. She said, "Good, I can't." She goes, "Good, I can't wait to hear it."
Yeah, I talked to her about it at the show. I was talking to a couple people after the show and whatnot, and they were trying to get heat on me in a funny way.
Jezebel.
He said this, he said that. I'm like, no, I used the $5 version.
Oh my God.
Those terrible
man, she came out in
things.
that nice new gear and everything, man.
Yeah.
Queen of the Sea, man. She looked good with the tiara and all that.
Yeah, it looked great. I think I wore that tiara more than she did yesterday in the back. Yeah, it was funny. I liked it. I told her it looks great.
Yeah.
Yo, so you mentioned at the beginning of the show, you mentioned Sage. Can we talk a little Sage?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wish she was here.
How do you feel she's coming along? How do you feel she did last night?
So I'll be honest and just pulling the curtain back a little bit. And I'm sure she wouldn't mind. And she's come a long way, and she has a lot of people in the business that she calls her uncles, not just friends, but like her uncles, like Luca Mancini. She has a very close friends with like Diamond City and Shelby and Nate. So anything they tell her, the biggest thing that they've been telling her this year, she's got to have a little bit more confidence in herself. And, last night it wasn't like big bumps in the road, but it was just adjusting to certain things that were being thrown at them before the show started that they were going to have to deal with, including not really being exactly sure about what the match was going to look like if a girl showed up or didn't.
Right.
But last night was the first night that I had seen her lock in the way she did. Her wrestling's going great. I mean, she's got to get a little bit better on the mic, but I think that comes with time for all of us.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I as a father, I'm always going to be proud of her as her trainer and someone that looks at her as a peer in there, because she very much is a peer in there now. I'm very pleased and happy with the way she's handling things and not just shutting down and like saying, I'm just going to do barely enough. Like she is always asking. everybody. Like, hey, how did I do? And last night we actually came home. I was very proud of her match. I watched the whole thing. But to her, it's like, I knew I could have done better. Well, yeah, we could all do better. But to
Mhm.
her, it's like, if I'm not doing something better the next time I go out there, then I'm not really trying my hardest. And I love that drive that she's found to do this again. Because for a little bit there, we've had some time off with FPW for a little bit because we've been helping out with everybody that's in
Yeah.
our little alliance here. But
Mhm.
when she got back on, she's doing so much better than when she did, like when she debuted at NEPW. A New Era. She's doing better from a couple shows back then to where she's at now, and it's full circle for me as a dad and a trainer. So
Yeah, and I did want to ask you about that because it's a different conversation, right? When it's your child
yeah,
that wants to get in this business, because your natural instinct is always protect your child. Don't let your
yes,
child get hurt. Don't let your child get into a situation where they could get hurt. They get
hmm
hurt badly, and maybe it doesn't work out. So, I mean, when she first comes to you and says, I want to do this,
yeah.
what is that feeling like for you? Are you immediately on board, or are you like, I got to think about this, or do you have to go through all the things that can go wrong? How does that work for you as a
Okay.
dad?
So, are you asking when she first initially asked me?
Right. Let's go
Okay,
back to the
so
beginning of that
so
first
let's go to
conversation.
that because that's
Yeah.
in the story, and I'll try to shorten it. So, funny enough, Sage, to me, my daughters, because I have three of them and I have a son. To me,
Mhm.
my kids will always be my kids. My
Right.
daughter, my oldest daughter, Kira, which I think you guys might have seen her on a couple posters. She helped us out a couple times. My Ariana, which is Sage, and my youngest daughter, Brielle. Um, they're my step girls. They're my stepdaughters. To me, they'll all be my daughters. So
Yeah, it doesn't
when I actually met Sage, I was just her coach. So I didn't have that combo, but as time went on and me and her mom got to know each other and stuff, yes, it turned into, okay, yes, she was always my student, but now she's a student that now she's my daughter. She's my
right.
girl, she's my little one, and I met her and I came into her life when she was 12. So even with that, I had to take on a student that was that young, where I didn't start till I was 16. So when I had a little girl say, I don't know a lick of wrestling, I just like what you guys did the one time I saw you do it when I had my school there, in the same school where she was doing self-defense. The minute she got in there, though, it was like all my girls, I think, for some reason or another, they're just born to do this stuff. I don't.
Mhm.
A little sneak peek, I guess, and some things for everybody to hold on to. Right now, Brielle, the youngest girl, she is 14 now, and about 3 months ago, she started training with the new set of students that we brought in, and
Mm.
she is picking up things like wildfire that I have to look back and like look at these girls and be like, why? Like, where do you guys, like, they had never watched a speck of wrestling before I came into their lives. And anytime they step into that ring, it's just go, go, go. So as a dad now, I still get those moments where I'm like, oh no, that might have been
Right.
it. Last night I had a moment where I think Miss Autumn Breeze um, suplexed her and she
Yeah.
yelled, she let out a yell and she started holding her back. And I'm like, oh God, here we
It's a
go.
rough ring though,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and
It
and, and
is.
and and we said that because we were in there running the ropes together for a little bit before the show started. When she let that yell out, that usually doesn't come out off of a suplex for her. I was like, oh Jesus, here we go. Like now, dad mode kicks in, and that's where I have to dial
Right.
it because you, as a dad, you want to go out there and at least shake her hand and be like, hey, let me know you're okay. But
Yeah.
in order for her to grow and not have dad by her side at all times, like I gotta let her go through that on her own. Like even if she had gotten hit, what's going on, Sean? He's still calling me Tigre. Like I have to sit there and allow her to learn on her own. There's been times where I was like 17 getting in the ring and got hurt, but I didn't
Yeah.
have anybody. My mom and dad weren't always supportive of the wrestling thing. They
Mhm.
still aren't at times, but it's just a different feel. But I gotta let my kids learn, man. It's like letting them fall and get up. They have to do it.
I thank you for that because
Yeah.
I ask you that in part for selfish motive because I have three myself. They're all
Yeah.
stepkids, all of them, and I'm gonna have to have that conversation, I think, at least once down
hmm
the line where there's going to be at least one of them that I feel like is going to want to get involved with this
Okay.
at some point in the next few years. And so I'm kind of looking at that of like, I don't want to ever say no. I want them
Correct.
wide-eyed about what this might be, what it could be, but also what it realistically will be. And then obviously I'm going to be there and I'm going to be calling their matches. And
Yeah.
how do I deal with not just running out of a booth the minute it looks like something goes wrong and just breaking fucking kayfabe and everything else and going like,
Oh Lord.
I just want
Now,
to go with my kid, you know?
now, of course, at Triple WA, I know you, Keith, are involved in the back and know and hear about the things going out there tonight. You guys need to know.
Yeah.
So my only advice with your situation that's coming up is, I think that's the best thing. But even as a wrestler, you guys are very heavily involved too. Whenever Sage gets in there with anybody, I listen to what they're calling, and I listen to what they're gonna do, and I see. I know my daughter as well as you know yours.
Right.
There's times where things have been called, and I see her kind of look to the side and go, oh, "Okay." I always make sure I go to her and I go, "Listen, you need to advocate for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because you're not comfortable with something right now does not mean you will not be comfortable with that the next time you try it in another match. But for right here, right now, it's better and it's okay to say no than to go out there and risk getting injured, hurting someone else, or looking foolish on there because you just wanted to agree. You don't lie on a resume for a job because they're going to find out. Wrestling works the same way. So when that time does come for you, man, just be there. That's it. That's all we can really do as dads is be there.
Yeah.
And things are going to go wrong. That's just the one thing they got to understand is things can go wrong. But as long as they can get up and go, man, they're going to have, as long as their passion and their goal is to be in this, they will be.
All right.
I got 5 kids, Miguel, and none of them are going to be wrestlers, so I don't have to worry about that at all.
Not at all. Not one of them.
Maybe the 7-year-old, maybe Elizabeth. I don't know. Keith can agree or disagree with me on that. Maybe Elizabeth might. There might be
she's got a personality. I've got a 10-year-old boy that the minute I talk about little things that maybe we can do, and he gets very excited.
Yeah,
I don't know about the baby yet, but he's got a personality too. So I might wind up. I think I'm going to wind up with at least one boy.
Yeah,
maybe I'll wind up with 2. The girl is just not interested in it.
Elizabeth, are you a future women's champion? No. Okay.
No. Okay.
All right. So she's all right. That's fine.
But you know what? It's funny
that sane her and not rip out the hair he doesn't have.
I'm glad Elizabeth came on though, because it kind of segues on talking about kids. Brielle, my youngest daughter, guys, her interest to get in my ring here at the house literally happened 6 months ago. When she started training, it was the week before then that she goes, "Dad, I think I want to try it." I said, "Well, where's this coming from? Because we've never spoken about this before."
Mm-hmm.
And when you do come to the shows, you watch my match, your sister's match, and usually you tune out. So then when she got in there and was picking up on I know she tried a couple of years ago, and when she went to bump, she was like, "I'm not doing this." And that was it. But a couple 6 months ago, she asked about getting in there, and she got in there, got knee pads and everything, and did it. And she was in pain, and it sucked the first 2 days, but now she's in there, and her and her sister are just going to be so good if she continues and
awesome.
Get to the point where her sister are, where I don't know. I can only imagine the storylines we're going to tell, because I'm just so proud of them as a dad that my girls are going out there and following what they want to do. I think that's.
Speaking of Sage Rose, she won her match last night against the current 3WA Women's Champion and a former 3WA Women's Champion. So that earns her a championship match down the line. Has she talked about that? How does she feel about that?
So last night when she was able to get the pinfall, it was so surreal to her, because like all of us, when we first get into this, we all have that one show that you commentate, or that one show that you had that you sit there, and when it's said and done and the smoke's clearing, you're kind of like I just did that. That was it. That was my biggest moment in my life, because I'm doing what I love to do. And that was it. And I think even when we went home, it still hasn't clicked yet. until she went to bed. And her last comment to me was like, "I'm number one contender." Like it's crazy. It's funny because we had an hour car ride home, and
It's
we didn't
awesome.
ride in the same car home, but we didn't speak about it until the very last minute. And I told her the whole time on the way home though that I'm proud of you and you did your thing. And it's just one of those things that when you get there, you never know when it's going to be the last time. It could be the first of many times. But I always tell her in this business, it could be the last time for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think she thought it would come so early in her career. That she's just very proud of what they accomplished last night, and she was very grateful with the two girls that she kind of looks as mentors this past year, help her
Mhm.
break in, and she's happy to do it.
I'm so jealous that Al got to call that and I didn't. Honestly, for a shoot, because that was one of the matches that I missed. I was dealing with some family stuff at the time, and I mean, shout out to 3WA that they're always letting me deal with that. They never hold it against me. I said I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna deal with this, and I will be back as soon as I can be back. And they were like, "Take your time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whenever you're back is whenever you're back. We'll figure it out." And shout out to Al on that. He stepped up. I gave him literally no notice. It was an hour or so before the show, and I said, "Look, I'm going to come back, but the start is going to be all you. Maybe an hour or so, bro. You got this."
All I care about is when you hear it back, when Miguel, you hear it back, when Sage hears it back, that I did it justice because, I really tried to put over the fact that that she's a newcomer, that and then when she got the win, that's how big of a win that was to win over former champion Shelby Waters and current champion Autumn Breeze. So yeah, she deserves this spot now when you win a match involving those two people. And yeah, they see something in her potential. Bring her back and see what she can do one on one with Autumn Breeze, and that'll be fun because she'll learn a lot. Win, lose or draw, she'll learn a lot, and and that's what we want for her, right? I mean, that's what everybody in this room wants for her. She looked really excited about it at the intermission. She looked really a little bit of a confidence boost for it. That was really cool. But like you said, it didn't sink in until she got home. That's really cool. Oh shit, I'm number one contender. Now what? I got some comments here. I'm neglecting some comments here.
Yeah.
Sean's here still. My 1CW kid.
Absolutely, man. Always. I think I said it in the last show. If it wasn't for Sean Hardy out in Delaware, Miguel, Tigre, Sage, all of us, like Luca, like that man put the confidence in myself. Like I said, my parents didn't really have faith in me for all this to go on. Hypercolossicon, we're going to talk about that. I didn't have the parental care and love. So when I met Sean Hardy, I was really young. And when everybody saw like this little kid, Sean said, "Hey kid, you sold how many tickets? All right, we're putting you in the title match." And it's kind of like Sage last night. My first match for Sean, I won the Pride title, which is now a part of my brand. He gifted it to me and made it a part of my brand when I started my thing because it was originally his. If it wasn't for Sean Hardy, man, much love. I know you're watching, man, and all this is because of you, man. All of us and anybody that I brought up, they got to realize that if it wasn't for Sean Hardy, me and everybody behind me, they wouldn't exist, at least through me, because you started it all for me, brother. I love you, man. I miss you. Gotta make it
And this kid here, Boss Young Legend, last night, I think he impressed a lot of people as well.
I love it.
He was on around the turnbuckle a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, cool. Yeah, man. Boss Young Legend, I met him about a month or two ago at a New Era show. And it's funny because, again, you can tell, at least I can tell auras about people, and I'm just good at catching it. And, I love the guys that even if they're timid, and I'm not going to say he's timid. I'm not going to say that. But he saw me working with Sage in there before the show because we always try to get some ring time in before we get out there and do our thing.
Right.
He ended up stepping in the ring. He was watching from the outside for a good while. He ended up coming in. I don't remember what question it was exactly that he asked me, but the fact that Boss Young Legend did that, I told him, like, "Hey, man, how long you been working?" I think he told me he was coming back from a small injury that he had sustained early on in his career. He's only been around for a little bit.
Yeah,
And I
this is
told
his
him, I
comeback.
grabbed his hand and I shook his hand and I said, listen, kid, shake it out. I promise you things are going to be okay. I promise you things are going to be good. I worked
He
a
looked
little bit
great.
with him.
Him and Bateman had a great match, and I was quite honored
Absolutely.
to call that match that opened up the night. And I had expectations in the back of my head from Keith and I had talked to Boss Young Legend a couple weeks ago. We've met and talked to Bateman, but we haven't had him on the show yet. But we'd like to have that
That's
happen.
another
But
good one.
Yeah. I'd
But
like
again-
to talk to Bateman. I see something in Bateman.
oh, absolutely, and
Boss Young
that
Legend,
was
I got to call him at that NEPW show. I didn't get a chance to call him last night, which again is one of those regret moments because having talked to him here and gotten to know him as a person and then being able to work shows with him, at least one show with him so far, I am very high on him. I think he has that something. I think he's got a great look. I hope he stays with this. I hope he commits to this business and stays
he will.
with it. Because I really see good things for him. Just stay with it and stay with the people you're working with right now as you develop. Because you're in the right space, kiddo. This is where you need to be, and you are very, very good at this, and you are impressing folks.
They both look good. Like that was one of those matches, Keith, where they both shined each other. It was like iron sharpened iron. They were both BYL versus Bateman was, exceeded my expectations. Seriously, they let it all hang out there. They both looked great. Didn't matter who won that match. BYL got the win, of course, but Bateman looked awesome during it too. And he mentioned down here Miguel Calazalcon. Can you explain what the heck that is? Oh, we lost him because he moved around.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for the love.
You there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here.
All right, cool.
It, kid.
So,
No need
Calazalcon
to thank me.
I'm a huge anime fan. So a couple years ago, I started going to this anime conventions with my youngest daughter, Brielle, because she's into anime like me. Everybody else in the household, not so much, but she definitely was. So when we went, we kind of saw people cosplaying as wrestlers. And I remember looking at my youngest daughter. And again, at the time, she had no interest. So I was kind of like, yeah, maybe. But I talked to my wife that weekend about 3 years ago. And I said, I think if we did a show at the con, it would be cool. And I had been going years before then. So it's called Colossal Con. It's held every year around September, first week of September at Kalahari and Mount Pocono in Pennsylvania. They're coming for 4 nights this year. Usually they only do 3, but they're getting that big. So when I brought it up, I happened to go to a buddy of mine that's actually a part of like the crew that puts things together for the con. I became really close friends with him around the year, and I just went up to him and like, hey man, what are the possibilities that your guys would want to put on a wrestling show here? And they said, well, what do you need? I said, listen, I got my own ring and I got all the credentials that I need, which again, Sean Hardy with Clutch, he actually helped me out the first year because I didn't know how like event insurance worked all that well just yet, but he really made it happen for us. But they said, what we can do is give you a room. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's do this room and do whatever. They ended up giving us like a banquet hall. And the minute the ring went up, the minute the show started, it was a 3-hour show. We treated it like a WrestleMania. We said, okay, let's do it. We ended up having to close doors because the first year we ended up packing 400 fans into the room. There was no chairs available. The actual security team of the hotel came in and said, hey, we love what you're doing, but we just got to warn you. We already talked to the con people, and they told me to come talk to you. As of right now, we have to ask you to close the doors because as of right now, you guys have reached maximum capacity for the room. So you guys can't let anybody in, and we're only allowed to let people in as people left for intermission. So then fast forward, we're at year 2 last year. They give us a bigger room. We ended up packing that one with about 600 to 650
Nice.
people.
Love it.
They said, we can't give you a bigger room, but we can do is give you a 2-year contract. So for the next 2 years, this one's included. We're going to be at the con doing our thing in 2 weeks, and I'm just really excited because for me,
that's really cool, man.
For me, it's our WrestleMania type of deal.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean,
Anything
there's
me.
such a good crossover there.
Yeah,
because
yeah, and people love it.
anime is everything, all genres, really, because anime is, and I think, and I've felt this since I was a kid. People will get down on animation in general and think animation can only be kid stuff.
Yeah, and that's the
And
close.
I could not disagree with that more. Animation is just a form,
Yes.
and it's what you do with that form. Just like live action, just like anything else. If you do a good story and you have that emotional connection, it doesn't matter your form. It doesn't matter if it's a movie, live action movie, doesn't matter if it's animation, doesn't matter if it's professional wrestling. I don't care. If you do it well, I want to see that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Afro Samurai.
I
Bring it,
wanna see
please,
that
please
shit.
bring it.
By
By the way,
we had a wrestler come out as Hercule. Actually, I don't know if you guys know. There's a
Oh,
guy
I
that
love that.
I don't know his actual name, but there's a guy that was like a YouTube sensation a couple years ago. But he's the real life Peter Griffin. I don't know if you
oh
guys
yeah,
seen him on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
Okay.
I've seen that guy on
Yeah.
YouTube a lot.
I met him at Collecticon a month ago.
That's
'cause
funny.
I met him there, and I said, "Hey, man, do you mind coming and doing a Rumble?" Unfortunately, the times and dates didn't work out, but he
Yeah.
told me that he has a professional wrestling friend that's in the indie scenes to reach out to him. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, do you want to wrestle him?" He goes, "No, I don't mind doing the battle royal. He's just my designated chicken guy." And I was like, "Designated chicken guy? Like, what are we talking? Like, what?" He goes, "He literally puts on a giant chicken suit. I get put in these royals, and when he comes out, we just clobber each other." And like the show. And I was like, "Oh my god, I need this."
Yes.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to book it on time for this one, but oh my god.
Yo, Keith, say his name and he appears. I believe in Lou Nick. What's up, Lou Nick?
Of course, I believe in Lou Nick. I also
There he
believe,
is.
I also believe Lou Nick is a menace.
The
He
shadow
knows what I'm
assassin.
talking about. You are a menace, sir, and you claim your menace is kayfabe, and it is not kayfabe. He's going around telling people there's a tornado warning. Fucking work me. Fucking work me. I'm like, is there? No, of course there's not. Fucking Abdul's there to keep him straight, and goes, of course there's not. Oh, it's kayfabe. It's kayfabe. I'm like, you are literally scaring the shit out of people and trying to say kayfabe. What the fuck?
He's gonna make the seats go empty because they're gonna go home, man. Don't do that shit.
What? I would never. Yeah.
I don't believe him.
You know, Keith and I saw something in those guys
They're
the
trying to
first
put heat
time we
on me
saw
with Shelby Waters, dude. Come on.
the first time we saw them, man, when they first stepped into the ring at a 3WA ring, that was the first time we got to see those guys. Right after the show, we're like, you guys got something. And they wrestled each other, Miguel.
Yeah.
In a one-on-one match. It was Lou versus Abdul. And, man, they tore the freaking house down because those fans had never seen them before. And by the end of that match, they wanted more, man. It was really cool.
I believe it. Those two guys, man. I've never. So as a kid, I wanted to. I have a brother, a younger brother, and he at one point did also want to do this. Unfortunately, he lost interest. But when I met Lunik and Abdul, I'm like, damn, like they're literally the only other like brother team that I've ever met. But the way they move and the way they work so well, I mean, as you guys know each other better than anybody. They really are the future of the tag team division. They just got keep on the stride that they're on. Always keep
got belts in 3 different feds.
I've told them now it's about name the moves, marketing, name the moves. Make sure the ring announcers call you by the preferred team name. Get some merch out there. Do what you got to do to get this over.
You might have lost Miguel. You're in and out.
No, I think I hit the button on accident. My bad.
Okay, that means a lot, Miguel. Thank you, sir. I just want to make sure you saw that comment.
Yeah.
Man, you got to keep striving, and and because
wherever he was in a great spot, and then he maneuvered, and when he maneuvered, he got into a bad spot, and that happens so often, more than not. Are you with us now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good? Yeah, because you were in and out.
Yeah.
Hello?
So,
Is it working? I'm not moving now.
No, yeah. We're not hearing like every fifth word you say.
Yeah. Little lag.
Work
A
now.
little lag, he says. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
wherever Miguel was in somewhere in his building, he was fine, and then he moved locations, and then all of a sudden he was like,
out.
Yeah, closer to the router.
Piranha's loving this, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's getting flashbacks. That's why.
Yes, he's loving this because yes, he's getting flashbacks of when he was on with us and he was pretty laggy.
Yeah.
I turn on and off.
Sounds like Cubert to me. What do you think, Keith?
Little bit puberty right now.
A little bit Cuberty right there.
I was gonna say the closer you are to wherever your internet source is, the better it's gonna be. I cheat. I go right over it.
Yeah, the other thing too is, man, we got like 10 minutes left. Sometimes if you back out and go back in, sometimes that helps.
Yeah, we can always filibuster a little.
Yeah. But I mean,
I'll talk shit on Al for however long, it's fine.
You talk shit on me every show. I mean, you put yourself over and over
I do not put myself. Other people put me over, and I just, don't disagree.
Is that what you call it? Is that
That's
what you call it?
I put you over. I put you over earlier. You pinch hit for me last night, and I appreciate that. You certainly made that.
I appreciate him calling us a dynamic duo, man. I just, I'm not comfortable in the Robin role. That's all. But anyway, Miguel Del Barrio is back, my friends.
Hey, I was more of a Robin mark before I was a Batman mark. I'll say that right now. It's true.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you're back. Do you want to, Miguel? Do you want to say what you wanted to say to Lou? Because we didn't hear any of that.
Okay. What I was saying to Lou was just keep your mind open always, man. At the end of the day, there's always room for improvement. Again, there's a lot of ego, so there may be people out there that just want to watch you fall, and that's always going to happen whether you're doing good or bad. So the best advice I can give is just keep the stride that you got going on with your brother, because you guys really do have the science of a brother tag team down, but always keep your ears open about how you individually can improve, because that brings to the team and what you guys can do together when you guys know and are confident in yourself as a person.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
And I think this should be announced. Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but Carolina Gym announces them separately. Are they? You guys were at New Era. Are they announced separately at New Era too, and elsewhere?
No,
are
I think they're announced as their tag game, and they come out.
Yeah. I have told them they've got to get the confidence. They've got to go up to Carolina Gym, because and again, I think this is a case of, boys, you're the problem with that, because if you go to Jim and you say to Jim, this is how we want to be announced, Jim is going to announce you that way.
Do it.
Don't be intimidated. Jim is a great guy. Jim is not doing it for any malicious reason. I think it's because Jim just doesn't know how you guys want to be announced. I told you guys this. I told you guys, if you want to go with Shadow and Light, and you guys definitely want to go with it, because
something about light speed. Did you come up with light speed?
Yeah, I know. I put Abdul over. I told Abdul, because Abdul came up with it and came up with the light speed moniker, and I said, okay, you guys are embracing it. So if you guys are embracing it, it's time to start going around and making sure everybody knows to announce you that way. It's time to brand, guys. You got to cut promos.
Yep.
You want to see more promos, and you guys have to brand, because once you brand, now you can get merchandise, and you can start getting some merch out of it. And you guys are doing well enough that I think once you brand, you're going to get the merch, and you're going to get that ancillary. Get the business going, guys. Don't just be worried about being the best workers. You're great workers right now. Let's get the business part of it going.
And
What is your
that goes
fleet
with what I said
manager
earlier.
advice?
Yeah, and that goes with what I said earlier. Like, you can do a million flips, but if you don't know how to network and stuff, like, you can flip in front of 5 people, and those 5 people will appreciate it. But I'd
Sure.
rather you be doing 5 people in front of 500 people, and then all 500 people are talking about you. Because eventually, the more they say your name and the more you say your name, the more it's going to click with people when they see you again.
Yep. We talked last night, guys. You both know it. We talked last night about next
Advocate.
steps.
Advocate. That's my biggest thing is
Yep.
advocate for yourselves, man. That's always
Exactly.
important. If you don't look after yourself and throw your ideas out there, no one's ever going to read your brain and say, hey, let's let this kid do this. Because they don't think if you don't give them a reason to have confidence in you that you can pull it off, no one's ever going to do that because they don't know you like that.
Yeah. If they didn't
All right,
believe
man,
in
but
you guys, you wouldn't have belts.
all right, man. So before we run out of time, what do you got coming up? Where can people find you? Where can people find Sage? Where can people find Frontier, New Era, all that?
So Frontier right now, we're definitely working on finding some new venue spots. After COVID, the rent in a lot of places kind of went up. So the sand is kind of dry in that way. We're definitely trying to make our full-time all year round comeback. But listen, New Era and Triple WA for sure. Me and Sage are going to be doing that. And we're going to be kicking some ass down there. And right now we do have the
New Era's next show is September 21st. In Carbondale, Saturday, September 21st, and 3WA's back in Quakertown on the week after that, the 28th of September.
If you guys go to those feds and you're fans of those feds, you'll definitely catch us there. And Frontier is going to definitely do this con, and more opportunities come with more networking. So we're hoping to get full track and running month to month, if not every other month, when we get started here again.
Love it. Is there anything that we have not covered tonight that you would like to talk about in these last few minutes?
Look after each other. I'm not going to mention names, but in the last couple months, I've dealt with a lot of egos. A lot of people that are willing to say things to your face, but then say different things behind your back. I need everybody to know, and everybody that works for me knows. And if you don't know me, and it's the first time you're meeting me, we will find out the negative things you put out there. And again, it's kind of like the locker room. If you are the source of the problem, we will make sure that you don't go farther than the guys that are actually working hard and doing the right thing for people to rise do. So with that being said, for all those people that do understand that, look after each other. Look after the new guy on the roster. Look after the guy that's nervous for the first time, the girl that's sitting on the side there and just needs a pep talk, or the guy. The promoter's going through some shit and you notice he's freaking stressing out. Walk up and ask how you can make his life a little easier, whether it's running, making sure the ropes are tightened, or at the end of the night that he needs sound equipment moved, regardless of what it is. You make yourself available. You are only as available and useful to someone with what they know that you're willing to do. If you're willing to do and help out with the show, you will definitely be used more. So just look after each other, support each other, and be safe out there, guys.
All good stuff, man. Listen, we appreciate you and people like you in this business. The passion's there. And also, we urge everybody to please go back and check out Miguel's first appearance here on Around the Turnbuckle. You will get all his, background, where he came from, where he started his career, and where he's taking his career. And man, we love seeing this. We love seeing this. You with your new affiliation with New Era and those guys getting off the ground. Your mentorship in the locker rooms, man. The next generation of Del Barrios coming up. They're coming. They're coming. Prince Piranha, man. Some hearts. Look at all these hearts. Look at all the love,
Thanks,
man.
guys. I appreciate y'all.
So
Thank
seriously,
you.
like,
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's great to see the support that you had here tonight also. And it was great to see the way things are going for you. And of course, we're going to do this again in 6 months to a year and catch up to you. If anybody's watching is interested in being on this show who has not been on this show, please contact Keith or myself.
Yeah.
on the Around the Turnbuckle message board, on the Around the Turnbuckle group, and Around the Turnbuckle Facebook page. Please like and subscribe our videos. That helps out a lot. Subscribe to our channel as well. Follow this guy for more.
Absolutely.
And next week, Professor, we are taking a break from interviews. On the 8th, we'll be back with Kai Thomas, who is the current 3WA High Impact Champion. That's September 8th. But on September the 1st, we are going to have a surprise panel. I am not divulging those yet, but we are going to talk about the state of the WWE under Triple H's rule. We're going to talk about that next Sunday at this time on this channel. Professor, any closing remarks?
You know, I just want to throw out there, I think, you know, I love Miguel. It was such a pleasure and an honor to finally call a show that you were on and meet you and all that. It was great.
Yeah,
to
he's
have
all right.
there. It was great to have Steve close. Yeah, you fucker. You fucking got a heel even here. God damn.
He came up to me though. Let's talk about it.
Oh, of course he
but he
did.
ran right over to me.
I love that picture though too, because he
Yeah,
comes
I
up
love
to
it.
you and you're like side eyeing him. Like,
Before that, though, Keith, you weren't there yet. Before that, I went up to Miguel and it was all hugs and kisses. You know what I mean?
It really
yeah,
was.
and then he got there for the picture and he's like side eyeing you. I love
I had to
it.
keep it up, man. The kids were watching.
Yeah, you did. Exactly. I love that because, like you said, it's the subtleties. It's the little.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
I love it, man. Don't go anywhere.
We're so good in Pennsylvania right now. If you can get up here, if you can watch what we're doing in Pennsylvania, do it because our scene is very special right now, and I think we're going to do something really amazing in the business.
Love it. For the Professor and Miguel Del Barrio, I am Big Al. This was Around the Turnbuckle. We'll see you guys next week.
You think you know me?
Oh, yeah. If you smile.
Calculations are correct. When this baby